into getting you. You following what I'm saying? Clear enough? Oh, yeah, you're on. All right, wonderful. So then I got fears. You call this love? You call this love? I mean, you're lacking intelligence. Love, for heaven's sake. I'm not leaving you free. I'm not leaving me free. I'm manipulating you. I'm manipulating myself. I'm trying every means to get you. And there's fear. And so it is said so beautifully, perfect love casts out fear. No fear in perfect love. You know why? Because there's no desire. Now, ask your culture. I've asked mine. Ask your culture if it can make any sense out of this statement. Where there is love, there is no desire. Desire in the sense of attachment, okay? Okay, attachment. You know what they tell you? But attachment is love. That's how stupid they are. Then you expect to find life. You can only find death and misery. They say, how could you love if you don't feel attachment? Later, I'll keep this for the end of the day, I'll talk explicitly about love. Such a simple, such a sublime, such an extraordinary thing. And I rarely run into anyone, believe me, I'm serious, I mean every word I'm saying. I run into all kinds of people. I run into people of all kinds of religions, and I run into Catholics and non-religious people, you know, people who are atheists or whatever. And I run into Catholics or lay people and priests and sisters and bishops. And I rarely run into someone who knows what love is. They got the wrong instructions. So when I tell them, hey, how could love be attachment? They're arguing about it. And then, of course, after 5 minutes, they say, you're right. You mean you've lived 55 years, you've written books on theology, and you haven't seen this? He says, no. Well, I'll give you some comfort. I lived about as much as you did, and I hadn't seen it either, if that's any comfort to you. But it's so obvious. Attachment meaning, without you, I will not be happy. Got to get you. Attachment means, I got to get you. If I don't get you, I won't be happy. I cannot be happy without you. There you've got the formula for divorce. There you've got the formula for quarrels. There you've got the formula for friendships falling apart. I cannot be happy without you. I need you for my happiness. By damn, I'll do everything to manipulate you to get you. Love means I'm perfectly happy without you, darling. It's all right. And I wish you're good, and I leave you free. And when I get you, I'm delighted. And when I don't, I'm not miserable. What do you know? I have learned to be self-sufficient. I'm standing up on my own 2 feet, not leaning on you. And you know, if I get money, that's wonderful. And if I don't get money, I'm not depressed. I'm happy. And you know something else? When you go away, I don't, maybe it's too soon to say that here, but anyway, I'll risk it. I don't miss you. I don't feel pain. Where there is sorrow, there is no love. Tell me, when you grieve, whom are you grieving for? Whose loss? Self-pity? Oh, don't call it that, you're telling the truth now. Here's the formula. If you were not actively engaged in making yourself miserable, you would be happy. We were born happy. All life is shot through with happiness. Oh, there's pain. Of course there's pain. Who told you you can't be happy without pain? Come and meet a friend of mine who's dying of cancer, and she's happy in pain. So, we were born happy. We lost it. We were born with the gift of life. We lost it. We got to rediscover it. Why did we lose it? Because we were working actively. They taught us to work actively to make ourselves miserable. How do they do that? By teaching us to become attached. By teaching us to have desires so intense that we would refuse to be happy unless they were fulfilled. The tragedy is, my dears, the tragedy is that all you need to do is to sit down for 2 minutes and just watch how untrue it is that you would be unhappy without A or B or X or Y or whatever. Do you know something? You won't sit, because if you sit, you might see it. You won't sit and look at it. I know I wouldn't. I resisted it for years. You mean if I don't get Mary Jane or I don't get John, I won't be happy? Hey, wait a minute, that's false. Before I met him, I was happy. And you know something? I once fell in love with somebody, and then, well, I lost her, and I was heartbroken. And what happened? I'm all right now. So she wasn't my happiness after all. Remember the time you were a child, and you lost something, and you thought, I'll never be happy without this. What happened? If we gave it to you today, you wouldn't look at it. But why don't we learn? Oh, no. We got to live in illusions. It feels good. It gives you a kick, doesn't it? It gives me a kick. We want kicks. We don't want happiness. We want thrills. And wherever you got a thrill, you got an anxiety. Because you might lose it, or you may not get it. And you got a depression following. You got a hangover. It's so simple, as I told you. I could put it down for you in 2 minutes. Whether you'll hear it is another question. That depends on your own heart. So here it is. The world is full of sorrow. The root of sorrow is attachment desire. The uprooting of sorrow is the dropping of attachment. How does one drop it? One only looks and sees that it is based on a false belief. The belief that without this, I cannot be happy. That's false. The moment you see it's false, you're free. Good luck to you. May take you 1 minute, may take you 25 years. But the day you see it, you're free. You're free as a bird. You know, you'll be coming up to give satellite retreats. You'll be talking to presidents. You'll be meeting popes. You won't be one bit fazed. You're free. You're free. You're completely free. You'll be making an ass of yourself. You won't bother. You won't bother to impress any. You know what that means? That you're not bothered to impress anybody? You know what it means? That you don't give a... Is damn a swear word in the United States? Maybe I shouldn't be using it. You don't give a tinker's damn what they think about you and what they say about you. You know what that means? Oh boy, that's freedom. You're not bothered about whether they approve of you or they don't. It's all right. You're happy. You don't approve. All right, too bad. That one failed. We move on. I'm happy. But that's because you've discovered that your happiness does not lie in these things. You've got to see that for yourself. Useless reading a book. Useless listening to me. You've got to see it. And of course, you won't see it if you got the wrong formula. I'll deal with the questions right now, okay?
Yes, this is Valerie Wolf. Does the dropping of attachments translate into detachment from the material world?
Good. All right. And what's the second one? Second one.
The second one is we've been taught to identify with the sufferings of Christ. Can we do that if we're always happy?
Oh, great questions. All right. Now, would you give me your name again, please?
Yes, this is Valerie Wolf.
Valerie. Well, thank you very much, Valerie. Thanks for calling. I'll deal with the questions right now, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, here goes then. Does this mean dropping of attachments? Does it mean detachment from the material world? No. No. One uses the material world one enjoys the material world, but one doesn't make one's happiness depend on the material world. Is that clear enough? Like, look, what I'm saying is, you really begin to enjoy things when you're unattached, because attachment brings anxiety. If you're anxious when you're holding on to something, you could hardly enjoy it. So, what I'm offering you is not a withdrawal from enjoyment. It's a withdrawal from possessiveness, from anxiety, from tension, from depression at loss of something. So I trust that would be clear enough. The second question was a pretty good one too. We're taught to identify with the sufferings of Christ. How would this link in with what I was saying about happiness? All right, let me clarify this a bit further. Maybe the best way to do it would be by means of a story. It was a great Zen master, they say, who was reported to have attained enlightenment. And one day his disciples said to him, Master, what did you get from enlightenment? And he said, well, I'll tell you this. Before I was enlightened, I used to be depressed. After I got enlightened, I continued to be depressed. You seem puzzled, huh? You see, the depression hasn't changed. His attitude to the depression has changed. He's not saying, I'm not going to be happy till this depression goes away. Because strange as it may seem, you know, you could even be serene and calm and happy while the depression is going on. You're not fighting it. You're not upset about it. You're not irritated about it. You're not trying to, no, you're serene. That's the difference. So can one go through physical hardships and even emotional sufferings and not be upset about them? That's the key word. That's the operative word. Oh, to find the secret for this. All right, we have another couple of calls. Let's try one or two more of those. Okay, you're on the air. Let's have your name and would you identify the location you're in?
This is Patrick Mahon at St. Joseph's Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia.
Great, Patrick. Thanks for calling. Let's have the question.
If happiness is not attachment, how do you define it in positive terms?
Wonderful. All right, did you hear that? If happiness is not attachment, how would you define it in positive terms? Thanks, Patrick. I hope to deal with that right now. My, he really has me on that one. Patrick does. You know something? Happiness cannot be defined. At least I haven't found one. I haven't found a definition. As a matter of fact, you have no idea of what happiness is till you've dropped attachment. So it could only be defined as the dropping of illusion, the dropping of attachment. When misery caused by attachment is dropped, happiness is attained. Of course, one could use words like peace, serenity, being above it all, enjoying every moment as it occurs, living in the present. They're words. These are words. You don't know what sight is till the eye is unobstructed. You don't know what happiness is until attachment desires are dropped. Then you know. And the words don't matter anymore. Well, I trust that's good enough, Patrick. Let's take one more and then we'll take someone in the group here. Yes. Would you identify yourself, please, and your location?
This This is Rich Redmond at Georgetown University.
Yes, Rich.
The question is, if Christ is a model of, for us of detachment and of happiness, how do we identify with his loneliness in the garden and being his anger in the temple and being forsaken on the cross?
Great. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Rich. Did you get that? All right. You know, Christ himself went through periods, it would seem, of loneliness, very well identified by Rich here, of anger, of abandonment on the cross, etc. Are these states compatible with happiness? What do you think? Is it possible that either because of one's programming, because of one's culture, or simply because of one's human psyche and body, one would go through all kinds of sufferings and yet somehow be above it all? What do you think? Yes, no, what? Yes, yes. Before enlightenment, I used to be lonely. After enlightenment, I'm still lonely, but loneliness isn't what it used to be anymore. You know, I think in the session we'll have after lunch, I'll talk more explicitly about these phenomena, loneliness, emptiness. Where do they come from? What causes them? Is it possible that they would disappear completely? I think so. You know, we Christians continually teach that Jesus was a man. He was a human being like everyone else, and like every human being was subjected to all of these things. Does one eventually, gradually outgrow them? Some of us do, others don't. Jesus could outgrow them, may not have outgrown them. One knows so little about this, but this much is clear, that one does have a state of serenity, of happiness, even when these clouds pass by. Let me give you an example to show you what I'm talking about. You see, you've got the clouds and you've got the sky. And many of the Oriental masters will be saying, before this state of what they call enlightenment, or what I'm inviting you to do, to see, before they saw, they would identify themselves with the clouds, and they'd be all caught up in that. After enlightenment, they identify themselves with the sky. Oops, there comes a cloud, black cloud. It comes and goes. I'll show you how this is done this afternoon. Again, it's so simple, it seems incredible. Then after a while you say, hey, about 6 months since a black cloud came, but you know, I'm not going to make my happiness depend on their coming or not coming. Get what I say, what I'm saying? All right, great. Or else what's going to happen now is you're going to be tense about not being depressed. Oh gosh, so now another cause for you're going to get attached to this imaginary state that you call happiness. So what we have to do is watch for those attachments, understand them, see that they are based on a false belief, and they will drop. Then you'll know what I'm talking about. How about have a question from here? Then we go back to calls that are coming from outside. Anyone have a question here? Would you stand up, please, and wait till Chris comes along with the mic? That'd be great. Give us your name.
Hello, Father. I'm Peter Shea from Fordham
Peter,
University.
all right.
Father, you've been saying a lot about being able to experience suffering and depression and yet still be detached from it. I'm trying to understand clearly what you're saying, but it seems such a contradiction. You said that you can be happy and depressed, since depression, as I've always been taught, is the absence of contentment and happiness. I'm still a little unsure about that.
That's a good question, Peter. I'm glad you're pressing it because it'll help me to make this a bit clearer. See? Aren't depression and happiness two contradictory states? I think this is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yes and no. If for you happiness means thrills, fun, pleasure, yes, they are contradictory. But thrills, fun, pleasure are not happiness. What are they? They're thrills, they're fun, they're pleasure. They're not happiness. Happiness is a state of non-attachment. You know, for many years I didn't even think such a thing existed. For me, to be happy meant to have fun. To be happy meant to win, to get what you wanted. This is what people ordinarily understand by happiness. Most cultures understand happiness to mean you get what you want, so you're happy. You know the way it is? Yay, I got what I wanted, I'm happy. But that isn't happiness. That's a thrill. That's getting what you want. Depression is frequently, not always, not getting what you want. It's the opposite of the thrill. You go in for thrills, you're going to be depressed. It's the other side of the pendulum. Or you're going to have to do a lot of thinking on that. It's the thrills that cause the depression. Of course, depressions have physical causes too. So you see, I'm not talking about happiness meaning thrills, fun, pleasure. I'm talking of happiness meaning one is above it all. One is serene. One is not attached to its coming and going. There's one more thing I'll add. The more you fight depression, the worse it gets. Don't resist evil. When they strike you on one cheek, turn and offer the other. When you take away one devil, 7 more come. How does one deal with these things? By not fighting them. Because the more you fight them, the more you empower them. Quite a number of calls. Let's take a couple more. Yes, you're on the line. Let's have your name and the location and your question. Hello?
Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
This is Susan Spadinger from
Yes.
Buffalo State College in Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo. Yes, Susan.
And the nature of my question is quite different from the previous ones.
Okay.
So I have 2 assumptions, and then I'd like you to apply one of your earlier statements. Assuming that I am attached to my experience as a Catholic United States woman religious, and that I have been educated in a post-Vatican II time, and secondly, assuming that I am also tempered by my experience of the total change and transition that has meant in the last 20 years, I'd like you to apply your beginning metaphor of the monks and scholars being challenged to analyze words like goldsmiths analyze gold, cutting and scraping and rubbing and melting. I'd like you to apply that metaphor, if possible, to the current situation in the United States Church.
I can see where you're getting me, Susan. I'm not biting, but thanks. That's wonderful. And I'll deal with that. Okay, Susan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've seen where she's taking me to also, have you? Well. Okay. Look, I think, and let me say this quite unambiguously, I think that the Church of the United States, in quite a number of areas, is at the cutting edge today. It's offering leadership to the rest of the world, and particularly in the matter of women's rights. And I think centuries hence, the Church is going to be grateful for this. And of course, you're running into your difficulties. Every time change is in the offing, you're going to run into conflict. You're going to run into difficulties because people hate change. They don't want change. They want progress without change. All right. So you're naturally going through your birth pangs and your teething difficulties in the church, etc. But let me add this. You know, there's a lovely sentence in the Hindu scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord Krishna says to Arjun, to the kind of the main character in the book, as some of you may probably know, the scene is set on a battlefield. And this young prince is saying, why do I have to get into battle? And the Lord says to him very beautifully, he says, plunge into the heart of battle, plunge into the din of battle, and keep your heart at the lotus feet of the Lord. That's the formula. Plunge into the din of battle and keep your heart at the lotus feet of the Lord, at peace. Is it possible to get into the din of battle, to fight the good fight, and be at peace? Of course it is. Of course it is. All the great mystics attained that. Because if you're not at peace, believe me, you're going to do much more damage than good. Oh, the damage you're going to do. You know why? Because it isn't the Lord's battle you're fighting. It's the ego's battle. And the sign that you will know that it isn't the ego, the cause is a very just one, but when your ego gets messed up in it, oh gee. So there it is. You could get right into the battle. I'll have more to say about this in the next session. You get right into remedy situations, but your heart is at peace. And nothing's going to destroy your happiness. Wouldn't it be awful if you fought the good fight and you lost your happiness as a result? You don't have to do that. One more. Yes, you're on the line.
Hi, my name's Michelle Kiernan.
Michelle, all right.
I'm from the University of Dayton.
Marvelous. Go right ahead, Michelle. We're listening.
Okay. You said when you talked of true freedom, you said not to bother whether someone approves or disapproves. If they don't approve, you say, so what, I'm happy.
My, that's tremendous. Go right ahead. You okay.
I had a difficult time with that, understanding that, because I thought that was sort of selfish. I thought you should also have freedom in doing things for others, not necessarily for approval, but just for the sake of giving.
Oh, that's marvelous. Yes, all right, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, maybe I didn't make myself clear enough, see? I'm not saying we don't care about other people. We care very much. We're very sensitive to them. But we're not controlled by their approval or disapproval. See, I'm glad she brings this up, so it gives me a chance to make it clearer. So you're very sensitive to people, but you're giving them what you think is good for them, but you're not being controlled by them. Do you follow what I'm saying? In other words, I'm not going to desist from what I think is good just because you disapprove, and I'm not going to do what I think is bad because I think you approve. So I'm not being controlled by you. Only there is true love. Good, let's get another one. Isn't it marvelous? We can get these people from all over the states. This is great. Yes, you're on the line. You're on the air.
Is there some other way we can get in contact then?
You're on the air right now.
Oh, hello, Tony.
Yes, this is Tony.
Good. Hey, I'm calling from Lorraine Community College in Elyria, Ohio.
What's your name?
I wanted to know, why does religion seem to so often always get in the way of happiness for people?
Why? Would you say that again, please?
Why does religion, like organized religion, seem to always get in the way of happiness?
Why does it always seem to get in the way of happiness? Well, all right. Would you give me your name, please?
Its roots on occasion. You know, it's lost its mystical quality.
Yes, it's lost its mystical. All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, I wouldn't say religion always gets in the way of people. No. It's always in danger of losing its mystical quality. How true, how true, how true. You want to see politics? You find it in religion. You want to see dirty infighting? You find it in religion. You want to see crucifixions of Messiah? Where do you think you get it from? Religion. So it's like, it's a sad irony, and it's right there in the New Testament. The horror of the New Testament is that it was reserved to the religious people to crucify the Messiah. Not the Romans, not the colonialists, not the multinationals, not the imperialists, not the bloodsuckers, the money lenders, but the religious people. That's the horror of the New Testament. So it is true that religion is always in danger of doing this, but religion also preserves the mystical element. I think we'd be too one-sided if we denied that. You know, heavens, would I have seen what I have seen these years, these last few years, if I had not been a Jesuit? And oh yes, you know, the organization has lots of disadvantages, tremendous disadvantages. I can see that. It has all of its handicaps. I sometimes think it's something like our mother, see. Mother has her good points and her bad points. And she's mother. We love her with it all, kind of, see. And sometimes we don't take too much notice of what she's saying. She belongs to another age, okay. And sometimes we take some of her great wisdom and we learn to kind of assess what's good and bad. And we love her just the way she is. So I can see how religion, while having all of its drawbacks, its tremendous drawbacks, we always have to be on the alert, we religious people, to see that it doesn't come in the way of truth and of the mystical. It also, thank God, still keeps some of its beauty and some of its original goodness. Let's have one more, and then we'll come to the hall here. All right, you're on the line.
Good morning, Father De
Good
Mello.
morning.
My name is Marie Mataratondo, and I'm calling from the Diocese of Fresno, St. Paul Newman Center, and the Office of Youth Ministries. We have two questions for you today.
Okay, Marine.
Okay. Does no attachment mean that we should not participate in the very human creative endeavors of hoping and dreaming? That's the first question.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, how do you suggest that we deal with feelings of loss and grief and the other things that are part of our human experience?
My, great questions, Marine. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Does it mean we withdraw from the human endeavor, having no attachment? No, no, no. Plunge into the din of battle. And you know, you have so much more energy, believe me, when you have no attachments. You got all of your energy available to you. The great Chinese sage, Chuang Tzu, how marvelously he puts it. I remember learning this by heart. Let's see if it comes off. If it doesn't come off, we won't feel bad, will we? Well, let's get started. All right. He says, when the archer shoots for nothing, he has all his skill. When he shoots for a brass buckle, he is already nervous. When he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. He's out of his mind. He sees two targets. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more of winning than of shooting. And the need to win drains him of power. Isn't that sublime? The need to win drains him of power. If he didn't need to win, he'd have so much more energy. So no one joins in the human enterprise of human dreams and visions and goals so marvelously and so creatively as the person who's unattached. You know, unfortunately, we've come to associate unattachment with not caring, with not enjoying, with asceticism. No, I'm not talking about that at all. Well, you'll see this as we go on, I guess, along the day. And that second, that's a bit more of a touchy question, the one of grief. Well, shall I tell the truth or shall I soften it? What do you think? You better decide that. Soften it? Shall I? All right. All right. We'll say it like it is. I wouldn't grieve if I wasn't attached. I wouldn't grieve if it were not for my loss. I wouldn't grieve if in some way you were not my happiness. But when I enjoy you wholly, I love you in the sense of I'm sensitive, I care, it is your good I seek, and I leave you free. And you are not my happiness. I have not given over to you the power to decide whether I will be happy or not. Then I do not grieve at your absence or at your rejection, or at your death. That's hard. You may need many months to digest that one. But until you arrive at this state, all right, grief is wonderful. One drains it out of one's system gradually, and then one comes back to life again. They tell me there's a call from Canada. How about taking that one? Would that be all right? Okay, let's give Canada a chance. Okay, Canada, you're on the air. That's wonderful.
My name is Charles MacDonald.
Charles, all right, Charles.
Charles, calling from the University College of Cape Breton.
Uh-huh.
Sydney, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Wonderful.
Well, I liked very much your comments about lost opportunities and those images you brought there, eh? The stories about the fishermen.
That's right.
Beautiful story. Now, I think that a lot of people believe that the world is in a mess, but they don't think that their own lives are in a mess. And
How
the way
true.
they want to solve the world's mess is through commitment to causes.
How true.
I'm wondering, how do you distinguish between commitment and attachment, or commitment and detachment?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are two things there. First, the world's in a mess. I'm in a mess. You know, don't hide behind a peace committee. It solves nothing. You know, when a bunch of wolves sit in on a peace committee, you're not going to get peace. When 1,000 wolves organize for justice, you're not going to get justice. You got to deal with the wolves. So he's so right in saying we got to take a look at ourselves too. But then the other thing, how does one, well, commit oneself to a cause? Well, that's fine. Commit yourself wholeheartedly into the dinner battle, but you're above it. As somebody said so beautifully once, for peace of heart, resign as general manager of the universe. Like, I'm not the general manager. I do what I can, I plunge in, and the result is left to God, to life, to destiny. Let's take a couple of calls from here, and then we'll end the session. Anybody have a call here? All right. Would you wait till the... All right. Thanks,
How you doing?
Marie.
I'm Paul Provosto from the Maryknoll School of Theology.
Yes, Paul.
And I'd like to ask this. Before you said we have to watch out for attachments so that we can become unattached. Wouldn't that result in anxieties of constantly worrying about what you're attached to?
Yes,
How
all
do you
right.
break this vicious cycle?
Okay, all right. No, I wouldn't say watch out, Paul. I'd say watch them, look at them, understand them, study them. Like, how does one detect an attachment? The moment there's upset, there's an attachment lurking under it. Now, you'd say, upset, huh? Because you're not getting what you want. Or you're getting what you don't want. That's right. Or you're about to lose what you want. That's right. Which means you're refusing to be happy unless you get what you want. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. You mean if I don't get this, I'm not going to be happy? You mean this is my happiness? You mean a person, a human being, cannot be happy without this? Oh, no, he can. She can. There are human beings who are happy without this. This might take you anywhere from 2 seconds to 2 or 3 hours to 5 or 6 days, where you wouldn't be thinking about this repeatedly, but your mind is going at it. You know, I'll tell you one thing. The moment you dare to expose yourself, even for 2 seconds, to truth, you're finished. You're finished. Because if you glimpse it even once, something in you will be taking you back to it. That's why maybe something inside of us fears to look. If you see Well, it may take a while, but you'll be driven back again, and you'll be increasingly freed and made happy and liberated. I thought there was another question here. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Pat Takacic, and I'm from the Graduate School of Religion at Fordham.
Yes, Pat.
Basically, my question revolves around this. There seems to exist a tension between being aware of a state of detachment, that's probably not the right way to put it, and also that pulling toward what society says you have to do to be successful. And how do you resolve that tension, or even that sense of one's pride that gets in the way when you become
okay,
aware of
Pat.
that?
Thank you. Thank you. Did you get the question? It's like a pull. On the one hand, happiness, peace, serenity, being self-possession, if you want, being above it. On the other hand, the drive that society has put into us to be successful. How does one resolve it? Just redefine success. Redefine it. What is success? Now, that's not going to come easy if you're too much in the grips of what will they think, what will they say. What Pat calls pride. I wouldn't call it pride. I'd call it a kind of a total dependence for one's worth on others. If you think I'm worthwhile, I'm worthwhile. If you adjudge me a success, I'm a success. If you don't, I'm not. Oh, who will give us the grace to break out of that? When I meet a man or a woman who has broken out of that, I salute. Not the other ones, the big commanders and the presidents. Very inferior human beings. Not one bit better than the average. Lustful, greedy, frightened, anxious, ambitious, grasping, controlled like puppets by what people think and what people say, and so captured, so enslaved by the desire for power and this. You want me to respect that? But then I run into a guy like Ramchandra. My, he has my admiration. I run into the kind of person, this AIDS victim in St. Louis. I didn't have the privilege of meeting that man, but that man has my admiration. See, we're admiring the wrong thing, the things, Pats. And this goes for most of our religious institutions. They say, you got to make it. And they're so honored that an ex-alumnus has become blah, blah. Is this what we value? See? So, or do we value the person who has broken out of the clutches of society? Do we value riches? Like you're giving $1 million, you get the front row. Christian institution, did you say, Father? So it goes, see, as somebody pointed out, we're so much in danger. We're brainwashed, we're bombarded constantly by this viewpoint. We're indoctrinated. Now I'll address myself to this question, so that way it's a nice introduction to what I'll be saying this afternoon. I'll be addressing myself to this question this afternoon after about an hour to this stranglehold that society has on us. Is it possible to break out of that? Okay, here we go again. Ready for more work? All right. I thought of a couple of stories to tell you on my way here to illustrate a bit what I was trying to communicate this morning, see? And then while I was sitting here waiting for us to come on, I thought of a better one. There's a Japanese master, a fellow called Bokoju. See, every time I think of his name, I imagine a plump, rotund kind of a guy, happy-go-lucky soul, Bokoju. It was said of Bokoju that every morning when he woke up, he'd give a great big belly laugh that resounded through the 250 cells of the monastery. Everyone could hear him. Everybody woke up with that laughter, like the alarm clock. See, great big belly laugh. And he'd go on for about 3 or 4 minutes. And the last thing he did at night before he went to bed was again let out a great big belly laugh, and then he'd curl up on his mat and go to sleep. And the disciples were very curious to know what it was that made the master laugh. And they tried their level best to get him to tell them. But he wouldn't. And he died without telling them. That's the end of the story. So all kinds of people have been trying to figure out what was it that made him laugh. I got a couple of hunches myself. You know, we have an Indian mystic called Kabir. Kabir has some extraordinary mystical poems, and one of them begins with the line, "I laughed when they told me that the fish in the water is thirsty." How about that one? I laughed when they told me that the fish in the water is thirsty. You mean you're in the water? Mm-hmm. You're a fish? Mm-hmm. You're thirsty? Oh, come on. But we are, aren't we? Or another line that I read last summer, somewhere here in the States, of an African hunter, an American hunter who would be hunting in Africa. He said he lived with some natives there, and whenever they were in danger, he said it was quite extraordinary. They'd look at us white men, says this man, with a strange kind of curiosity when they saw fear in our eyes. It was incomprehensible to them, to this particular group of natives, okay? It was incomprehensible to them, says this writer. Like looking into the eyes of fishes who were afraid to get drowned. That's pretty good too. Can you imagine a fish scared of drowning? And so again and again, the mystical teachers of the world have been posing this question. They're puzzled. Why are they unhappy? That kind of thing. Why are they scared? That kind of thing. And of course, till one has seen, it makes sense to feel scared. It makes sense to be unhappy. You know, when I talk about fear, I'm not talking about the present response to immediate danger. I'm not talking about that. That the animals have. I'm talking about fear of what's going to come, fear of what's going to happen. I'm talking about that. And this, the mystics tell us, doesn't exist. In their mind, simply doesn't exist. Boy, what a state to be in. Extraordinary. Well, here we are with these. You know, there's another nice story about this. There's this camel trader, an Arab, who's walking across the Sahara Desert, and they pitch tent for the night, and the slaves, drive pegs into the ground and tie the camels to the pegs. Then they come in to say to the master, there are only 19 pegs, and we've got 20 camels. How do we tie the 20th camel? And the master said, these camels are stupid animals. Just go through the motions of tying the camel, and he'll stay put all night, which is what they did. And the camels stood there, convinced of everything. And next morning, when they lifted tent and they continued on their journey, the slaves came to complain that all the camels were following except this one. This one refused to budge. And the master said, you forgot to untie him. They said, oh yes. So they went through the motions of untying him. That is an image of the human condition. We're scared about things that are not. We're tied to things that don't exist. They're illusions. They're falsehoods. They're beliefs. They're not realities. The agonies we go through over things that we have convinced ourselves our happiness depends upon, but it doesn't. Just doesn't. And we don't want to see it. Again, the mystics, I guess they understand this because they went through this themselves. They're in amazement that the human being would deceive himself, or people would fool themselves in this way. Now, what I'm going to offer you today is the beginning. You don't need anyone else to show you the way. If you keep following this, as I said to you in the previous session, you just get a glimpse of this and you keep at it, you'll find the way, and sooner or later you'll discover what this means. You're tied to things that don't exist. They don't exist. The story of the disciple who goes to the master, and the master says, "What have you come here for?" And the man says, "Moksha." Moksha is the Sanskrit word for freedom. I've come for freedom. "Oh, freedom," says the master. Go and find out who has bound you. So the guy goes back and meditates for a week and comes back and says, "No one has bound me." "And what do you want freedom for?" says the master. And in that minute, the disciple's eyes are opened and he attains freedom. He attains liberation. "What have you come here for?" "Freedom." "Go and find out who has bound you." "Well, no one has bound me." "Then what do you want freedom for? You're free already. Why do you seek it?" But you don't understand it because you've tied yourself with all kinds of imaginary chains. So this is going to be the theme of the present session. We're going to take it a little bit at a time, okay? We take little breaks and stuff so it won't be too heavy on you. Let's take it one step at a time. There's one of these Beatles, Lennon I think his name is, I read a marvelous sentence of his, marvelous sentence. He says, "Life is something that happens to us while we're engaged in something else." Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Life is something that happens to us while we're busily engaged in something else. Worse, life is something that happens to us while we're busy suffering all sorts of other things. I have a perfect image for this. You've got a concert hall, there's a symphony that's going on, the orchestra's playing, you've settled down nicely and comfortably in your seat, kind of the dark atmosphere, and you're getting ready to hear the music and to enjoy it,